So there's an infinite number of enhancements in this game at this point, and it can be super hard knowing what to pick. So in this video, I'll explain to you how to always know which enhancements to use, so you don't have to be on Discord and Reddit asking what enhancements should I use, what enhancements should I use for this class. I'll start off first with the Helm Enhancements, as they're pretty new and they can be some of the most confusing ones. So all 4 Helm Enhancements of the Forge enhancements all decrease your HP. So if you want survivability, you should just be going regular luck or wizard. Now choosing between the 4 can be tricky at first, but let's say you have a class like Void High Lord. All you have to do is click over here, click Stats Overview, and now we're going to test out the different helms. So first let's look at Anima Clairvoyance. It increases our critical chance to 57%, our critical multiplier is only at 329 though. Our cooldown reduction is at 11. Now let's look at Vim Either. It decreases our crit chance to 50%, but our critical multiplier up by 50. And also increases our cooldown reduction, which is a pretty big deal. So between those two, Vim Either is clearly better. Now let's check out Pneuma Clairvoyance. This is easily the worst one, only 50% crit chance, only 330% crit multiplier, and cooldown reduction is less than 12%. And finally, Examine Either. High critical multiplier, but low cooldown reduction. So out of these, the best one is Vim Either. Now, this doesn't mean Vim Either is the best for every class, but just by taking a minute and looking at what each helm does, you can figure out which one is best for you. Like, let's say you're using a different class, let's say Soul Cleaver. Let's check out the effect on these and see what's most important. So if you know Soul Cleaver, you'll know it's really important to get critical hit on the 2 skill. So the critical chance is pretty important. So here with Anima Clairvoyance, we have 36% crit chance. With Vim Either, we have 28. With regular luck, by the way, it's not that good, still 28. Pneuma Clairvoyance, 27. And Carla's Living Ahead, Examine Either, 28%. So it seems the best one is probably Anima Clairvoyance, even though a critical multiply does go down a bit. We don't want to risk just not getting a critical hit here. Admittedly though, the cooldown reduction is a bit bad on this. It's only 22%, whereas on the other helms, it's like 28%. So you do have some consideration to do, but considering the Soul Cleaver, we're just going to want to max out the critical chance. Now VHL and Soul Cleaver are pretty similar, as they both have hybrid damage and they're both melee classes. So let's check out Legion Revenant. Okay, starting off with Anima Clairvoyance, 30% crit chance, 340 crit multiplier, and 20% cooldown reduction. The crit multiplier is increased by 50%, but the other stats are pretty much the same. And for Pneuma Clairvoyance, the crit chance is alright, and so is the cooldown reduction. But by far the winner is Examine Either with a 50% crit chance. So for Legion Revenant, this is far better than the other 3 enhancements, and they all only have like a 30% crit chance, and this increases about like 20%. And now I'll move on to Capes, which is also another Forge enhancement, which is somewhat recent. I'll go through Forge, Luck, and Wizard real quick. So for classes that need Wizard enhancement, Wizard is better than Forge. This is Forge, 51% crit chance, and this is Wizard with slightly higher critical chance, slightly better cooldown reduction. Overall, you want to use Wizard instead of Forge. But if it's a Luck-based class like Void High Lord, you want to use Forge instead for more damage. And now let's look at the more complex cape enhancements with actual effects. Okay, so here we have these 5 capes. We'll look at Absolution first. Increases your heal boost, but decreases your damage dealt. Now, heal boost isn't normally a big deal unless you got a nice HOT class. So normally this isn't worth it unless it's a very specific scenario and you're doing like a really tough ultra. Vainglory increases your damage dealt, but decreases your healing intake by 50%. Now this is solid if you just want more DPS, and normally you don't need healing if like you're farming or if you're doing easy bosses. So a really good option for just more damage. Avarice increases your haste, but it decreases your defense and dodge by 15-35%. So obviously don't use this in like any tough boss fights, as it will massively decrease your defense and dodge, but it's nice for, you know, clicking your skills faster. Penitence increases defense to 25% and decreases DOT damage by 25%. So this is super useful for Ultra Malgor or any boss where you need to increase your defense by a lot. It's the best one for your survivability here, and it can make classes with mediocre defense and healing a lot tougher. And Lament is super useful for any chrono classes, as it increases your crit chance by 20% and decreases your haste by only 5%. So super useful when you can't afford to miss a critical hit. Oh, and I should have mentioned, Either reduces mana cost by 33% and Clairvoyance increases hit chance by 10%. There aren't many classes nowadays that do have mana issues, but if they do, make sure to use Either. And Clairvoyance is also useful for more hit chance. But both of these do show up on the stats overview when you equip them. As you can see, mana consumption is 67%, so you can tell what's happening to your mana and your hit chance. And finally, the weapon enhancements. Now, admittedly, these are actually the trickiest, and there's no easy way to know which one is best, because there's so many good forge enhancements now, and even some of the old ore enhancements can still be useful sometimes. The only real advice I have is obviously do some testing, or there are online guides for some classes as what to use. I'll give you some tips though. If you're in a group, make sure at least 2 people are using Arcanus Concerto and Oblast, as they're really useful for group DPS. And make sure you're not using Spiral Carve for a class that already has like a 100% critical hit chance. And if you don't know what enhancement to use for your weapon, Valiance is always a safe option. Like the video if this was useful, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and let me know if there's anything I missed, and thanks for watching.